Thinking. Okay, it looks like we're live. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Marissa Maruli, part of Coffey Engineering and Surveying's communications team. I'm here with Jerrud Ralph, who is our very own project manager and professional engineer. How are you doing today, Jerrud?
I'm doing all right, Marissa. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now you're going to be talking with us about construction engineering management. And as we know, Coffey has a number of project managers, professional engineers, but what do you do as a professional engineer at Coffey related to construction engineering management that makes everything different? So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yep, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'll be getting into construction engineering management and what exactly that is, when it's needed, and yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. And before we get too far along, I just do want to mention to everyone a couple little things. Anyone who's tuning in and has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. This is meant to be a live Q&A either throughout the conversation or at the very end. So if your question doesn't happen to fit in, or if we don't have a moment to talk about it while we're in discussion, we will make sure to get to it at the end of the live stream. So do stay tuned. One other thing I do want to mention is that Coffey every month does a little giveaway. And so we base this giveaway on what we discuss in our live streams. So for anyone tuning in, you will be able to answer a question on our social media. And the first person to do so correctly ends up receiving some Coffey gear in the mail. And so all you need to do in order to participate in that giveaway is to just stay tuned to our social media over the next 2 business days. We'll be posting a question coming out of today's live stream, and you'll be best positioned to answer it if you watch our live stream, and hopefully you'll win and we'll get you some nice Coffey gear. Okay, so without further ado, Jerrud, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Can you please just start by breaking down for us what construction engineering management is?
So construction engineering management is essentially when you have a project that usually it's either municipal or it's just so large in its scale that you need someone that's knowledgeable about essentially what all the different aspects of construction that are going to be happening, and then can coordinate between the contractor, the owner, any subcontractors, and then any utility companies or any outside people that need to be involved in the project in order for it to move forward. This really just frees everyone else up so that they can continue to do their jobs. The contractor can concentrate on whatever they're constructing that day, and the owner can worry about moving things forward with the project from their end. So it's mostly just hiring, essentially, in our case, an impartial third party to report on what's happening in construction and confirm that the contractor is completing things that they're completing, and then also get out ahead of the contractor, working on behalf of either the owner or the contractor to keep the project moving along.
Sure. And so this role, based on my research and my discussions with you prior to this live stream this month, Jerrud, we've been talking about how this role is different than an engineer's normal place, or more typical, more obvious, more usual place in a construction project. And so we were talking about how that engineer is normally coming in the beginning and of a project and working on the designs. Can you kind of break down that differentiation for us a little bit more between an engineer's more typical place in a construction project versus a construction engineering manager?
Right. In a normal project, usually something that's usually smaller, I think just like single lot development, what you'll have is the engineer will get the plans, approved, and be very involved at the beginning of construction, getting things bid, because we drew the plans, we know what's on them, we know what it's going to, materials it's going to take to have anything constructed. So an engineer is usually very heavily involved in the beginning of construction. Normally, if you don't have a construction engineering manager, anytime you talk to the engineer during construction, as construction goes on,
Mm-hmm.
It's usually when you have like a question you can't solve in the field, or there's an unforeseen circumstance that needs to be handled, or adjusted for while construction happens, and then they usually call the engineer in at the very end of that, if they can't solve it as they're going. Construction and engineering management, the engineer would be on site or represented on site, so that instead of running the question through various people with the contractor and the owner, the engineer is right there directly to consult and observe and various other things on site. So we're mostly more directly involved with construction instead of just drawing the plans, bidding the project, awarding the project, and then pulling back.
Sure. I like that. I like that it's an engineer dedicated to the project on site in case anything comes up, there to help solve and mitigate issues and keep the project moving on track.
That's correct. Yep. That's essentially it. It's just that extra, just removing a layer of anything that might impede the contractor talking to the engineer.
Sure. And an extra layer, you're saying, I think is very interesting. I like to think of it as an extra layer of security, of feeling secure in your construction project. So as we've been discussing, if you're on a tight timeline or you need that impartial third party, a construction engineering manager is definitely that person that could come in and help keep things on track, help streamline processes or optimize processes, and really keep things on deadline and mitigate any issues as they come up, and also just be that third party, unbiased reporting system to the owner, in between parties.
Right. So you'll essentially, we serve as a record keeper, someone who could verify that, certain tasks have been done. And then also, just the added benefit of having the person who made design decisions on site, so you can then justify those design decisions or, adjust in a way that doesn't, trade one problem for another, if that makes sense.
Yes, like a domino effect.
Right. Yeah. So it's, I understand why I made certain decisions on my plans. So when we're out on site, I can, just have a conversation with the contractor, and it saves so much time in keeping them from, keeping things clear to them. And then also, they can also see why I made the decisions I made on the plans.
Absolutely. Removing any sort of telephone game or middleman, and again, just streamlining time, which is, right. As you've said before to me, time is one of the greatest resources there are. So to really think of it like that, I think is key. That a construction engineering manager can help that resource of time stay in the place it should be, stay on target.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the best thing we can do is, you don't always shorten the schedule, but staying on schedule is, yes. an achievement in and of itself.
Well, and staying on schedule being an achievement is certainly like saving time or getting, as you said, there's a difference between staying on schedule and also, actually being done before the project is, hitting its deadline. Well, when you have these issues that come up, as they do in construction, you sort of are saving time and almost being ahead of schedule, the sense that that construction engineering manager is there to keep things at the original schedule, the original deadline. That is, in a way, keeping it ahead of schedule, because if this issue arose and you didn't know how to handle it, or you had to kind of backpedal, you would definitely be way behind schedule. So it's sort of like saving time. You know what I mean?
In the sense that, we're optimizing the time we have. It's
right.
making sure we efficiently use our time. there is a saying in this office. I think Dave Coffey hammers it the most, is that there are no easy projects left. You're looking for something. There is something that is going to pop up, and it's just, okay, how can we utilize our time to solve the problem, and then in the meantime, can we direct crews into something that's constructive if it's going to take more time? Can we say, okay, well, task A is going to be impeded. Let's look at task B and just kind of shuffle our time, what would be lost time, into task B.
Right. And so that's kind of, I'll try saying it again because I don't think I said it in the best way, but what I'm trying to get at is, most construction projects are going to have these issues that arise. So whatever the set schedule was for the project, whatever the deadline was, let's say, December 31st. Well, sure, that's what we think will be the deadline or the project completion date if no issues arise.
Right.
But because issues always arise, that CEM really helps maintain that December 31st date if possible. Whereas if the CEM wasn't there, there'd be a lot more, kind of backpedaling, other steps that happen, more communication, maybe some pausing in the actual process of construction itself for a week or 2 weeks delay, which then puts you well into January.
Yes, exactly. That's where I agree with you there.
Okay, better. I said it better that time. And we're actually getting some little comments coming in. It looks like some of these are from our colleagues at Coffey. We have a good morning from Drew Burr. Hi, morning, Drew. Drew's no longer my victim. He was my my live stream victim a couple months ago. So thanks for still sticking around, Drew, and checking out what we're posting. We're happy to have you here. And it looks like we also have some comments from another one of my old victims, Chase Corbridge. He was working with me a couple months ago on our live stream as well. Let's see what Chase has to say. We have one question from him that says, so CEM is like arbitrator between all parties? I'll let you answer this one, Jerrud.
I think so. Yeah, I think short of being construction site lawyer, that's a great way of describing it, where we're just trying to keep everyone happy and moving forward, and then coordinating the schedules as well, and just making sure the right people talk to each other too.
Sure.
So, I think that's accurate.
It's certainly interesting because Chase chose this word arbitrator, and then immediately you read it and start laughing. So you understand this word choice pretty well, that, you do almost get put in that position when you're out there, huh?
Oh yeah. I think Chase, is being a someone who's out in the field a lot, probably feels that way too sometimes, just like trying to make everyone happy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so communication is going to be a huge piece of construction engineering management, right? Just being able to communicate and communicate professionally, maintain a cool head, and maybe some hot situations, and even that unbiased, position we were talking about before when it came to reporting. It's almost like being unbiased in your communications is going to be key too, because you're going to want other, subcontractors on your team. You're going to want city officials on your team, and you're not going to want any one of these people, trying to point a finger and getting on a defensive side, right? So as CEM, having the best interest of the project is probably going to be keeping everybody getting along.
No, you're exactly right. Where it's an arbitrator where we hope they start and end as friends, or at least business partners. So that's the main goal, is to make sure that there is no issue where you have to bring in actual lawyers. That's very apt.
Sure. And then we have one more comment from Chase. Let's see what he says. He says, there are no easy projects left. The only easy day was yesterday, as U.S. Navy SEALs say.
This is very much the office attitude, but it's more encouraging that, we're going to go ahead and find the solution. You call us because, it's not easy. Thank goodness we're here.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, Chase. And just kind of helping along the conversation and asking questions. We appreciate it. All right, so Jerrud, let's get back to what we were discussing. So you kind of broke down for us what a CEM does. We also talked about, various benefits that a CEM can apply in various situations, like tight deadlines and other things. Can you, to boil it down even more tangibly for us, can you get into maybe some applications of CEM, some samples, if you will, of what you would do? And I know that we're going to be talking about, you have about 1 or 2 projects prepared for us today to kind of go over in detail, but just kind of more generally speaking, a couple touch points of what a CEM might pop into a project. Like what does your Thursday look like today, Jerrud?
My Thursday today, right now I am coordinating the Walnut Street project to, there were some utilities in Walnut Street that, depending on who you ask, may or may not actually be there. And so now that we're actually uncovering them, I'm coordinating with different utility companies to see if the lines are active and what they want done with them. And then also just making sure that the companies realize that, okay, we're going to be adjusting, these are going to be adjusted to the new street grade. So that's kind of a snapshot into my Thursday morning where I was talking with the United States infrastructure companies, who they're called, and about a telephone line that runs into the Wyoming State Frontier Prison Museum, just making sure that stays active during construction, so that while the contractor is still cutting the street to dirt grade. So it's instead of them talking to all the utility people, that is my happy task this morning.
Well, wonderful. Thanks for giving us a little information about, what a day looks like. And I'm actually going to go ahead and share my screen, Jerrud. I think right now is a good time to talk about that little infographic that we made this month. Let me just pull that up. Share screen. I'm going to grab that window. Okay, perfect. I just have our Instagram pulled up here just for quick access. See if that is large enough. I can zoom in a little bit. Let me know if you can read that okay. Otherwise, let me just try getting it a little bit bigger. Okay, how's that?
I like that. I can read it from where I'm sitting.
You can?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So just a quick introduction to this, and then I'm going to let Jerrud take over. But, we were talking again about what a CEM does, what CEM is, different situations in which it can be beneficial. So it's a good time to kind of go over it visually, just to see, there we have, 4 different areas here that might be really helpful, certain types of projects that construction engineering management can really help along, and what a CEM would do in each of these situations to help it move along. So Jerrud, can you take us through some of these?
Yeah, I'll start at the top there with limited resources. I think that a good example of that is that I'm working with the city of Rollins. They don't have a full-time staff person that can oversee all of their construction projects at once. So they brought us in to not only do the design engineering for a street reconstruction project that we'll get into here in a little bit, but they also have us out there construction engineering management for them.
Okay.
So they can actually receive daily reports. They can actually see what the contractor's up to without stretching their already fairly thin staff. And then we're going into the next bullet point there, publicly funded. So to piggyback off of that, now we have an accounting of where all the money is going, when it was when the tasks were completed and when the contractor was paid for it. And so that's a great way of tracking where your tax dollars are going. Essentially, that's always in the public interest, I think. And with smaller municipalities like Rollins, that we can be the resource for them to make sure that that tracking is taking place and it's accurate and unbiased.
Absolutely.
Then, of course, we talked about strict deadlines with construction being what it is, and we can go off of past examples of other projects and guess like, okay, this is about how long it takes us to put down a concrete sidewalk and pave a parking lot or a street or something like that. So here's our deadline. Here's what we hope to accomplish, and then so now I'm out in the field just waiting for anything to come up, and we can make sure that we meet those deadlines meet those deadlines and not extend our limited resources or our public funds.
Sure.
And then for large projects, like if we were, to get out of maybe the more municipal examples, if there were like a large development, let's say like a large subdivision or something, it would be possible for us to coordinate, the road construction and the housing construction, and then so they could, tie into the sewer utilities in the street without them having to repave the new street, because someone was able to look at the schedule and say, oh, if you hook it on this date a week earlier, it's going to save us this much asphalt, and having to go back and, fix what we just put down. So it's that kind of coordination and just someone who is happy to think of coordinating all those things during construction.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking us through this. And so if anyone wants to look at this infographic in more detail or wants to grab a screenshot of it or download a version of it, you can certainly do that. It's on all of our social media channels. It's on our Facebook, our Instagram, and our LinkedIn. Feel free to, it's actually also in our e-blasts. So if you ever want to be apprised of our latest infographic or latest article that we write each month, or just anything kind of coming out of this live stream, feel free to check out our social media or join our e-blast list, which you can do on our website. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out for us, Jerrud. And I think it's time that we can go into a project or two. We've kind of been teasing the audience with some references to a couple of projects you're working on. So let's actually get into them, if that sounds like a good time for us to do that as well for you, Jerrud.
I think so. Let me just make sure my screen is cleaned up here.
Yes, I'll try to buffer the time as it takes us a couple minutes. We have to kind of load it into the screen and then get it live. So I'll give you a minute to do that. Just let us know when you're ready, Jerrud.
All right.
I know what he's going to be talking about with us today is going to be a high school track field project that was being redone under a tight timeline to be done in time for fall and when everyone came back from school. And then the other project he's going to be talking about today, I think this one's going to be spoken about first, right? Or which one are we talking about first? The high school, or are we going to be talking about the street?
We're talking about Johnson Junior High first. Is that
okay? Perfect.
And it's saying that my screen is sharing. Is that working? Oh, there we go. All right.
There we go.
So here we have a fairly innocuous photo of a milling machine. And I will say that I'm sharing this photo because this machine was never intended to be used on this project. This machine being there is a direct result of our construction engineering decisions. I'll show up another screen, the after of running the milling machine. And so what happened here is that the Johnson Junior High project in Cheyenne, Wyoming, called for the removal of an existing, track. Your track and field track stand. Everyone ran on it at least once for field day. So the plan was to remove the track completely. There was going to be no more track because they're installing a turf football field that also had soccer boundaries. So it's going to be much wider. They could not fit the track around it. So it was planned in construction to remove the old track, haul it away, and just be done with the asphalt. What ended up happening is that after they took out the track that was on top, they dug down a couple more inches and found another older track underneath of it. There's a whole other just layer of asphalt that no one had anticipated would be there. So what the solution was, at the end of the day,
I have to stop you here.
Sorry.
So why? So you found another track underneath it. So was this because it was just like an older track that, years had gone by and maybe the school forgot to mention, oh yeah, back in the day we had another track that we covered over, and so it was just a surprise construction?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Whoever was there when that project first happened was long gone, so no one ever communicated that, like, oh, this is actually 2 layers of asphalt instead of 1.
Oh my goodness.
So that's fun with turnover there and record keeping, and something that would have benefited from having a construction engineering manager if they had that in the reports, that this wouldn't have happened. But cut to the present times now. We're looking at this track wondering, well, what are we going to do with all this extra asphalt? You can't put grass or turf over any of this. This is going to ruin the amount of dirt. We had a specific amount of dirt. Dirt we're going to have brought onto the site to get everything constructed to grade. So, this obviously threw a big wrench in that number. So what we all got together and realized, oh, well, if we brought in a milling machine, we could break it down into this layer of gravel here, and we'd have extra. Not only will we have the building material we need to offset, our blown filled dirt number, we'd also it would be good material to put under the football field as well. So it turned out from a big negative into actually a big positive once we came up with the solution. And we're having practice on it the day I went to certified construction. So it definitely made some lemonade on that one, I think.
Oh, that's wonderful. So let me ask you, I'm going to try to kind of recap this project. So a high school wants to rip up their track and want to use the space for football, soccer field.
Yes.
And so in order to do that, do they maybe need a design engineer to come in and tell them how to do it? And so you start on the project as the design engineer who tells them how to do it. But then Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, that's actually how I first became involved in the project, was as the design engineer, making sure that the football field would actually drain and fit on their existing facility. Sorry.
No, great. Okay, so I was just guessing. So I'm glad I'm kind of in the right vicinity. But so then when you, did they also hire you as a CEM prior to all these issues happening? Just because I know it was a tighter timeline, and I know that just in the infographic we were just looking at that's one of the reasons that one of the cases in which you really would benefit or want a CEM on the job as opposed to not having one, because they're not required, so you don't have to have one, right, most of the time. But so they might have been at Johnson Junior High, they might have had this tighter time frame because they needed to get this field done by fall when school came back into session. And so were you maybe hired as a CEM just to kind of keep things on track even prior to them knowing about this issue? Or, as you said, you started as the design engineer and then they ran into the issue and gave you a call and said, hey, we need you, help us.
So I will say, to their credit, this was the school district had us on as construction engineering managers right from the kickoff of the project, because I think they've just been through enough of these sorts of projects that they knew, okay, this is kind of inevitable. We should just make sure that who we're going to call when the eventual problem comes up is already available. So I think that anyone who's involved in construction, who's been involved in more than one project, probably knows that, you can you can hope for the best as much as you want, but plan for the worst is always your best bet to get the project done on time and on budget.
Sure. Well,
So.
and getting back to, you know, the role and the placement of CEM, you know, was I correct to say that a construction engineering manager isn't required in jobs, but just that it's kind of a supplementary process or a supplementary service that you can call in when you want things done in a more timely way, or you want to make sure that issues are mitigated immediately in the field or as much as possible, or are they required in most construction projects?
That normally depends on where the funding is coming from.
Okay.
Sometimes it would require a construction engineering manager, but it's not. I haven't had a lot in my career where it was required from the outset, and it was kind of part of our design contract or something that we were going to be on site documenting, making sure that not only are things being built to plan, but that problems are being mitigated. Like for me, that's a recently new development. So I don't think it's, but I don't think for the majority of projects, and I think especially private projects, it's not normally required.
Okay.
But I always recommend it for a project where it's like, this is going to happen. That there's going to be some hidden thing that you didn't account for that is going to suddenly affect the whole schedule.
Right.
So it always helps to have someone, on site or at least a phone call away that can say, oh, I know who to call in this situation, or I know who to talk to, or, this is what the design was intended to do in this area. If you want to change it, you need to watch out for these factors, just
Sure.
to get a little more in depth. But I highly recommend it just because, it's going to happen. You're going to probably be calling your engineer during construction anyway.
That was going to be my next question, actually, was, do you call, if you don't have a CEM at the outset of a project and, you just had your design engineer design it. Let's talk about this case, for example, Johnson Junior High with their track being ripped up and the construction or creation of their football field. If that, if it was dug up and then they found that second track, what would happen? Do they call you? Do they usually go back to the engineer, the initial design engineer, and call them and say, what do we do? Or, do they, in some cases, does the contractor themselves in the field, kind of just stop work and then they're like, okay, what do we do now? Let's call the client, see what they want to do. And, of course, it all gets slowed down at that point. But kind of how does that happen when you don't have the CEM ready?
Well, it first and foremost depends on your contractor and the type of work you're doing. Like, is this going to change the whole design or something? Or it has to be like, if the contractor is comfortable with making a change, and it's normally that answer is no, because they're building off a set of plans that have been reviewed and gone over for months, sometimes years at a time. So not everyone is as eager to change those plans as things go. So if something does come up that requires everyone to have to stop and think about it, normally that's when I get called. And we put our phone number on all of our plan sets just for that. I want people to call me if they have questions. I think that's a natural inclination of mine during construction season, is I want to make sure why the plans are the way they are. So, for me, I think calling the engineer usually means that it's not going great, but I would want them to do it as soon as possible. And, as the construction engineering manager, they don't even have to call me. Someone's there supervising it. And yeah, that shortens that whole decision-making process you described of, well,
Absolutely.
does the contractor change it? Does the owner want it changed? Or, is this a big enough issue? Like, yeah, you shorten that whole process into someone else looking at the problem alongside with you.
Absolutely. And, then it begs the question, if you don't have that CEM and this issue arises and, you're saying, you make yourself available, just even as the design engineer, please call me if there's any issues or whatever. But then it's a matter of, are you free? Are you on site at another project? Do you have the bandwidth to take care of the problem at that time? Or, do you have to say, listen, I can come up with a solution, but, we weren't, planning on being the CEM here, so we don't necessarily have the bandwidth to do this right now. So this construction project might have to be on hold for a week.
Right. It moves you straight up to the top of the priorities list, just having us there, like prepared to help you with anything, or, because we might be managing another project at the time,
Right.
I have to solve this other problem. You're exactly right. Like,
right. And you might be the CEM on another project. So you're there on site, at another project. So super interesting. And then, yeah, it really sounds like you turned it into a silver lining in this case, that it actually benefited the project, because it sounds like you were able to take was it an asphalt track, the second track underneath? Yeah. So you're able to take the asphalt track, pull in that truck, that picture that you showed us initially, pull in that truck that milled, it was milling all of that initial, that bottom track layer, the older track, and turning that material into something that could be usable to fill, that's where it gets a little too technical for my expertise, but so you're filling kind of a layer that you would want to be underneath the entire field anyways?
Right. Yeah. There was supposed to be a certain type of material as a base for the field, and acceptable to, there are specifications where you're allowed to use recycled asphalt mixed, in your base mixture. So it's really just anyone that would has seen that before, because I guarantee someone's seen it. It's just, do you have enough sharp minds on your project looking at it to come up with that solution?
Wow. Well, I like this story. This is a very cool one. And so you were able to get the project done on time the day that it was ready the day that the students arrived for their first practice.
Yep. They're all got to get on the new football field. It's pretty cool to watch.
I wish you had a picture of that. That would be fun to look at right now.
I considered it, but then I was just, at the same time, I was the contractor on site, just taking pictures of random students. Probably not a good look, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah, well, that's certainly a really lovely story. And I'm sure that, while the kids don't know who you were, I'm sure that they can really appreciate, that you kept their field ready for them on time. So, okay, I think that we're done with this one, right? Or is there any other notables from this project that you want to talk about?
This project, I wouldn't say. I think otherwise it went fairly smoothly. It was still a football field, so that's it's kind of hard to screw that up. But this was also I think the quickest from, oh no, we have a problem, what do we do, to, oh, this is actually okay. Like the shortest I've ever seen.
How long did that take? Was it a day or a week or an hour?
Within the week, we went from, we don't know what to do with this extra track, to, okay, we think we have a solution. Everyone's on the same page. We can get this equipment out here and continue with the project.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Okay,
so next we're going to be talking about Walnut Street in Rawlins, Wyoming.
Yes, this was so Walnut Street. I was originally the design engineer, and then as it moved into construction, we had a good enough working relationship with the city engineer over in Rawlins that they said, hey, you know what's happening. We're on the same page. Can you manage construction for us? And
Oh,
of
cool.
course, that was
So
the best.
so
Sorry.
in this one you started as the design engineer, but then, moving along, they, just had such a great relationship with the parties involved that they asked that you come on as the CEM.
Yeah, yeah. They seem to really just they really seem to agree with our vision for what the a reconstruction of this street could be, and thought that really seemed to listen to a lot of our suggestions, and that there was a great working relationship, really good back and forth. So it was pretty natural at that point for them to say, okay, well, the next logical step is that man, be the CEM on site for us, and
Sure.
so the thing about this section of Walnut Street is it runs from 3rd to 7th Street, which I don't know how many people watching this are familiar with Rawlins, Wyoming. Shocking. But this is the stretch of street that is directly to the south of the Wyoming Frontier Prison Museum. It is one of the oldest streets in Rawlins, Wyoming. As a result of that, Rawlins has always been the prison town in Wyoming. So it was the first street to have utilities put into it. It was the first street to essentially be paved and be utilized for automobiles and things like that. So during construction, we've been pulling out these old paving stones. We pull out the curb and gutter you usually see, dig down a little bit, and then another surprise. Hey, here's the 2 foot tall paving stone they used to have when you needed to curb your horse.
Oh my goodness.
So we're pulling
So
things out
this
like
is old.
this is very old, and so what this picture is that as part of the let's call it the historic nature of this street, a lot of utilities had to be kind of rethought and adjusted to meet the new grade. Part of reconstructing something that already exists is that you don't always get to pick how the design goes. So if I wanted to make sure I was draining water away from both the prison museum and the houses directly to the south of the prison museum, some utilities had to be adjusted. So what we're looking at here is a trench for the gas line that runs the entire length of Walnut Street, and we're having the gas line lowered as part of this project. And the big thing that's been on my radar, before I was talking about the phone utility at the beginning of the stream, was coordinating with the gas company and making sure that the gas contractor could work with the road contractor while different construction operations were happening. Directly to the north of this trench, on the other side of the barrels, they were getting ready to trench in a new sanitary sewer line because, well, here's another example of things having to change midstream. Originally, we were planning on having the sanitary sewer in this street stay as it was, just adjusted to the new street grade. Well, once we started breaking up the street and getting a good look at things, we realized that the manholes were made of brick masonry. It was the same construction as the chimneys on some of these houses. So not only was I coordinating with the gas company to make sure that they could work and lower their gas line here, we also had to go in and adjust the project to include new manholes and new sanitary sewer lines because we weren't so sure we wanted to have historic infrastructure still in use.
Right.
So but it's one of the funnest parts of these projects is, I guess, it's on how you look at it. When you go, well, what's going on in the street? Do we have the history? And everyone just goes, oh, there's history, but we don't know it. Good luck.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So this definitely sounds like a project that a CEM would be key on, just with how old things are, and whether there's records or not records, or just a bunch of people telling you good luck, we don't really know
Yeah.
what it is, but we know there's history down in there. Just being able to mitigate all of the issues and all of the surprises that you see there, it's just so interesting. And I actually have a question with that museum that's on that street. I know that that museum's a big attraction
Yes.
for that street in that area. So how did they, maneuver, or did they close down the museum, or how did you kind of plan for this construction to happen on a street that museum is based on? Just, in the event that it might impact the tourism.
Well, I will say I'm required to say the museum is fully operational and accessible at all times. The construction crews are working such that there is a way to get to the museum. You just have to pay attention to the detours. That's
Got
so
it.
the museum director Tina doesn't come at me or any of our crew. Hi, Tina. So they're still going. They're in full swing. This is one of the busier seasons they've had since it's all the tourists are coming back after the lockdown. So now
Sure.
they're not only are they in fully open, they are putting through a lot of people. I think
Wow.
higher than their usual average, just because everyone wants to come out and see something now, right?
Sure.
So
Okay,
it
so
was
there's just
also
like a construction detour that you all determined to get people to the museum and not impact that viewership. So the museum didn't have to close or anything.
right. Yeah, they just had mostly. I think. Hopefully, it's just minor inconveniences. From where I'm sitting, please say it's minor inconveniences. But
Sure, absolutely. No, I think that's the way it goes, just definitely as one of those bypassers that I am, during construction projects. It is an inconvenience, right, to go around and figure out a new way to do some things. But so long as there is a way to do it and that it doesn't actually impact the businesses and close them down, I mean, that's fantastic. I've certainly been on certain streets where, the businesses aren't really able to stay open during certain projects. So,
oh yeah, that was a large consideration for this project, not only for the Frontier Prison Museum, but also the corner of Third and Walnut is where the one of the Rollins fire stations is too. So we have to make sure that we're keeping traffic, giving them a route to and
absolutely.
from their building.
Wow. So is that something that you determine as the CEM or as the design engineer on the project? Who determines all of these detours with construction projects?
Well, the detours are that's more of by committee. I think it's the contractor understands the work they want to do on that day, and then we have the sign people, the detour people, and we'll all coordinate together to make sure, like, okay, well, we'll close from Third to Fifth Street, but we'll keep, we'll grade it so that the fire station still has access, but the signage will say closed to everyone else. And it's just mostly just kind of just picking our poison for the day, where it's like, okay, it's going to be open enough that a fire truck can get through it, but the signs will say don't drive through here. So we're
Mhm.
also depending on everyone's reading comprehension as well.
Absolutely. Right. Even with signage, sometimes it doesn't quite work
It's
out as planned, right?
you would be so surprised.
I can imagine. Well, and so just to wrap up on this project, is it still going on? Is it close to completion, or did you all just start it recently?
It's still going on. I think we're right in we're getting close to pavement, some sort of pavement being laid down, if not next week, the week after, like at a concrete curb and things like that. So that's very exciting. It's actually, things are actually taking shape and coming together, so you can actually see a final product instead of just a tore up road every day in your commute.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, that'll be really cool, Jerrud. You'll have to send us some pictures once it's done, and we can get those out on social media, and we can upload them to the existing project kind of status report that we do have on our website at coffeyeng.com. So if anyone wants to kind of read about this project, obviously you can just replay this video and you know, be reminded of Jerrud's recap, but we do also usually write up little project status reports just so that people can follow along with what we're up to on our website and just read about it. So Jerrud, once this project is done, if you do have some pictures, please send them my way, and I'll get them up onto that project summary, and we'll kind of net out how the project ended up.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Okay, wonderful. So I think that that's a great project. I love how CEM comes in to mitigate these surprises. It's kind of like they're the surprise finders, and then, you know, called in as soon as possible to let's figure out a solution to this surprise. So that sounds like a fun job, actually.
It is, yeah, yeah. It's, well, you know, it depends on your perspective, of course. But yeah, it's at least I always look at it as like, okay, well, we're moving towards the solution now. As soon as you find the problem, you're moving towards the solution. So you kind of have to have a bit of a positive mindset from the outset.
Yeah, and then when you're driving on a street like this, you can say, I'm the one that figured out how to make this street, you know.
This looks, wow,
turn this way, or
isn't traffic moving so smoothly now?
yes, exactly. Okay, so we have about 8 minutes left, and
Okay.
I have a few questions for you, just random questions about CEM. So we'll call it like the lightning round, since we only have about a few minutes left. I'll try to skip over the ones that maybe you might have answered or that aren't quite as important. But I like to know, in each of these subjects that we go over every month, I like to know about technology or software. So I want to ask, with CEM, is there any special technology that is used or software that is used to carry out construction engineering management?
I'd say the biggest boon to construction engineering management is the camera phone. That is probably the most important piece of technology. I have just piles of pictures, of just like construction as we're going through the day, so that not only is the contractor saying something got done, not only am I saying something's gotten done, there's a picture of it as well. And so it's just digital photos, and then the fact that I can take amazing pictures with my phone has made construction engineering management just so much easier, so much more streamlined, less litigious, let's say.
Absolutely. I mean, my goodness, have you ever tried to describe a picture, imagining that you can't actually use the picture, and so you have to just like use your words or explain over written word what you're seeing? Or, I mean, I can't imagine how much photography is this effort.
Oh yeah, no, it's the old mind game. Just try to describe a doorknob without saying doorknob. Just try that sometime, and not without sounding crazy.
I think I am gonna try that once we get off this and see how it goes. Okay, so that's really interesting. So it sounds like there really isn't any special tool necessarily that's used for CEM, like there might be for land surveying, right? How they have those specific tools. Well, with CEM, it's more process managerial. Maybe you're in some accounting software or just some Word documents for reporting, but that camera phone is key for documentation, and pictures don't lie. So, and they speak 1,000 words, right? So even Absolutely. If you did have to explain it, it would still take, there would be like a 2-paragraph summary underneath one simple picture, right? So
yes,
absolutely. And I am seeing that become extra, more widely used than it used to be. I mean, I can't believe when I get anything delivered, sometimes from FedEx or UPS or, the few times that I've done grocery delivery, like they'll take a picture of your front door and say, okay, your package was delivered.
Yeah.
So that's certainly being used more and more so to just document that things did happen.
Yeah, it's interesting just what that simple little thing that I remember everyone making fun of. Why would your phone need a camera? Well,
yes, absolutely. Yes. Okay, now let me think about another one. If I'm just kind of looking at my questions here, and I want to see if there's one that's kind of most applicable to what we've been talking about. I think, I guess overall, I would say this is kind of one of the most important questions that I ask is, what do you think, just personally, is the most critical part of CEM?
Communication. I think that's always it's simple. It's not the coolest answer, but that's always what leads to a lot of these problems is communication. And a lot of the times the solution comes from communication. It might not just be that, I don't admit to being the smartest guy in the room ever or any of that, but if I see a problem and I'm talking to the team about it, that a team that includes a contractor with X amount of years of experience building these things, and the city engineer who's overseeing so many of these projects that wouldn't talk but once a month. I can at least deliver messages between the two of them, and we're coming to and I speak both contractor and engineer fluently, and we can come to a solution at the end of it.
Sure, absolutely. So it's not just the level of communication, over communicating being such a facilitator of a project, but it's also the nature of communications, and diplomatic communications. You might be on site with someone who has 10 more years experience in their field, right? Or that's kind of the thing when it comes to someone who comes in more as like an oversight to something, because if you're going to be overseeing multiple pieces of a project, you're probably not going to have the same experience in each one of those pieces of the project that perhaps the people who are assigned to each one of those projects have. So, they may feel, that they might have the best answer, or, why am I being told to do this by this person who's not doing it every day like I do it? So definitely the nature of communications and just that diplomacy.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, just being able to talk to a contractor and at least go through why I made the design choices I did. Like, you can see the lights just pop. I'm like, oh, okay. No, I see. Now, no, I wasn't even looking over there when I was thinking of this problem, but you're right. X, Y does affect A, B. Like, it really does. It really does help, I think, everyone's relationship as well, too. Professional relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And okay, I'll finish off with the last one. Last question for today is going to be, what has Coffey been seeing lately, or what have you been seeing lately request-wise for CEM? And has that changed recently or stayed the same over time? If it's changed, how so? So I'm sure with CEM, you might get a certain kind of trend for a while, or perhaps it's changed, or maybe it's just stayed the same.
I'd say there's more and more people realizing that if like you were saying earlier, if they come to me earlier in the construction process and say, we want you to manage, we want you to have your day-to-day at least include checking in on this project, then problems get solved a lot faster. And I think a lot more people are realizing that, where it used to be like, yeah, you call the engineer and maybe in a week he'll get back to you, or they'll get back to you. Sorry, I don't want to imply anything gendered, but yeah.
Sure.
That might be that's the trend I'm seeing, where it's like, oh, if we want the engineer's attention day to day, we should make sure that they're part of this day to day.
Absolutely. Right. No, that certainly makes sense. Well, thank you for those quick answers. We're just about on time, but I have One more comment came in. Let's see what it says. We got Chase again. Hey, Chase. Sometimes speaking engineer and contractor fluently is like teaching an orange to speak Mandarin. So more power to folks like Jerrud.
Yes, want to be a bridge, not a wall. That's we're talking civil engineering.
Yes, sure. Right. Communication is a big thing. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation today is communications. I mean, you even say it's one of the most critical parts of CEM in your opinion. So just being able to be that bridge and not that wall.
Right.
And not only in the sense of a bridge of communications, but a bridge from problem to solution, right? Instead of, because you could very easily be a wall to that solution if you weren't the kind of person that can be like, okay, let's all join forces. Let's figure out a solution. You know, if you didn't have the right nature of communication, you could probably start to pin certain parties like, well, that guy should have known that, or that girl should have known that this could, that this could have happened, or that there was another track. Why didn't she tell us,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Instead of having that attitude, I'm sure, attitude is key.
It is really easy to get into that defensive crouch, but it's more of having the mindset of, okay, we're in the project now. It is what it is. How do we keep moving forward?
Let's move forward. Absolutely. Yes. Well, I think that wraps it today, Jerrud. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or are you feeling good about where we left off?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'll check the comments later to see if anyone else is confused, but I feel pretty good.
Yeah, that was it for questions and comments. But you know what? If anyone's watching this in the future, we're live right now, obviously. But if anyone's watching this after September 30th at noon Mountain Time, this will live on our YouTube, our Facebook, and our LinkedIn, and also a little blip of it on our Instagram. If you have any questions, feel free to just write them in the comments of this video, and we'll do our best to monitor this video certainly over the next month. And then, after that, we'll make a point to kind of check on it on a weekly basis, and we can answer any questions you might have. You also can just hop over to our website, which is coffeyeng.com, and you can, send us an email through our contact page there and ask us any questions that you may have. Well, thank you so much, Jerrud, talking about construction engineering management today. You were so informative, and I really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you for your time, and we hope to see you again soon on the live streams.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was a blast. Thanks for having me, Marissa.
Awesome. Well, you have a great day.
You too.
Okay. Bye, everyone.